WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Monday at 4 o'clock. Is everybody got their mic unmuted?
Yes.
Yes. Yours is still muted.
Yeah,
What?
we can hear you.
All righty, Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. This is a special Monday. This Monday happens to be the day we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And so I am just so pleased and honored to have two young men on the show to talk about Martin Luther King and what it might mean to them and anything else they'd like to share with us. There are two wonderful young men. Mr. Cranston Young, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Cranston Young. I'm 14 years old and I go to Glass Technical High School.
What grade are you in?
And I'm in the 9th grade.
Wonderful. And Mr. Grant Johnson?
Hi, my name is Grant Johnson. I'm a sophomore at Cas Tech. And yeah.
All right. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are really pleased to have you. I wanted to have some young men on today to talk about what they think about Martin Luther King and anything else they'd like to share about what's going on in the world today. But I thought it was important that we hear from young people what they know, think, feel about the holiday, about Martin Luther King. And we'll just ask some questions and we'll just talk. Cranston, do you know, of course, you know who Martin Luther King is. Junior is. I'm not even going to ask that question. But have you had any conversation in your school? Does the school talk about him at all in any of your studies?
They do, but it's usually only U.S. history. And most other courses or classes, they don't really talk about him that much. They usually only briefly talk, basically it's usually briefly, nothing like going into detail about it.
Okay, Grant, how about you?
Yeah, in elementary school, we used to talk about Martin Luther King, go over. We used to watch TV shows and things like that, talking about his life and what he did for us.
And what do you think about his life?
I think he was an amazing man who helped make many changes for the African American community and just the world in general. And I think that's why we deserve to have this day off so we can remember him.
Cranston, what about you?
I think he was an amazing man as well. I think he really impacted the Black community, but not just the Black community, but everyone, everywhere, with every race and ethnicity. I think he really impacted all of those people, even important people in those groups, because you could say Gandhi and him were very similar.
Oh, okay, Gandhi, very good, very good. Do you guys get tired of hearing about Martin Luther King?
I don't really get tired of it, but I do get tired of hearing the same thing. 'Cause I feel like there's a lot more that could be said, but I feel like the same thing is always being said about him.
Do you know anything about most of the things that you've learned about Dr. King? Was it in school?
Yeah, it was majority in school.
Okay, and they were all really regarding civil rights, or what kind of things did they teach you?
And mainly just talked about civil rights and how he fought for Black people to get their right to vote. It was basically the same thing, just fighting for Black people to make so it's obviously segregation.
Okay, Grant, what about you?
I just think that Martin Luther King, also what Cranston said, that how a lot of the same things are said, and I know personally just small things about him also, but not anything different that other people may not know. That's really special about him that made him him.
Okay, and it's Martin Luther King's birthday, but I do want to ask about are there any other Black men that they talk about that you think have had an impact on the world, the city, the country?
Yeah, we could do Joe Lewis, Malcolm X. There's many that there are. I do feel like Martin Luther King was probably one of the most prominent, but I feel like there should be a lot. There are a lot more that should be talked about.
Grant, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Cranston that there are others that haven't been talked about as much as Martin Luther King, and I think those others should be brought to light.
Mm-hmm. Do they talk about any other prominent Black men in class?
At least not really from what I've seen. Usually, mainly it's talk about Martin Luther King every time. Usually, it's the same thing. That's why it gets a little bit repetitive, because it's always the same thing with the same person. When there's a lot more they can go into and a lot more details they can put into the conversation.
Now, do they, even in school, do they bring out any of your contemporaries or people, like hip hop artists that are making a difference, anything like that? Or is it just kind of Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, that kind of thing?
It's usually just Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King. It's just like the same people, same thing. I do wish they could talk a little bit more about other people, because when you hear the same thing about the same people each time, you're not really learning anything different. More like just hearing the same news each time. And it kind of gets less and less. It really hits you less and less each time.
Okay. Good point. Good point.
So are the teachings any different from high school from junior high to high school, when you got to high school, did they do a more in-depth on Black studies, or are you pretty much at the same level with your Black studies?
It honestly feels at the same level, like, which is really surprising that it feels at the same level now. It hasn't been Black History Month yet, also I'm a freshman, so I haven't really seen what goes on during Black History Month. But what I'm saying now is that it's really the same thing each time. They don't really do nothing different about it. Just like even like this year for like on the Friday before, like this Friday, they really didn't barely even talked about it. Really, they just talked like say who his man is. He did this, but it was the same thing that I would hear back in middle school. It was the same thing. So I don't know yet because Black History Month hadn't came around yet, but it seems like it's the same thing still.
Mhm.
So, and do you feel like you're encouraged to be a leader in the Black community by the teachings that you get in school? Do you think it's furthering your education as far as you've got some pretty political women in your family? Do you think it's leading you towards making a difference like that? Or if you didn't have your mom and your grandma, it would be like, well, yeah, okay.
To be honest with you, I would really say that school really does not help with that because they
Mhm.
really don't really give you anything that can help you with that because they don't go in depth enough. They don't go in depth. It seem like they want to really go. They just it doesn't seem like they want to go in depth. It seems like they're only trying to give you this much information. That's like it's the only one. That's all the amount they give you.
Right.
Okay. Grant, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I think school hasn't really done anything to help shape me to become anything special in the African American community or anything different as a making a change in the world.
So at this point, I mean, and that's for you feel that for your fellow schoolmates, they all kind of feel the same way, that you're not really getting that Afrocentric learning and what your community is about and how you can help further your community, or are you just concentrating on the per se Ahmad Arbery's, that the people who are coming against our communities, but are they teaching you anything about how to make a difference and how to change lives?
Personally, no, not in my classes. We haven't really talked about the African American community this year. It's been more focused on actual curriculum that we're being taught by the district. So I can't really answer this question.
Mhm.
Okay. You two are involved in a organization with Cody Rouge. What is that organization? What do you do?
So Cody Rouge is a youth council that me and Cranston are a part of, and we have meetings every Thursday, and we come together and we try to make change in our communities for the better. So we reach out to organizations and try to get community service hours and just work with other people to help our community a better place, make our community a better place.
What did you guys talk about last Thursday at your Cody Rouge meeting?
Um, we actually did something about Martin Luther King Jr. We just got into breakout groups. And we talked about had to gather some facts about him. We answered some questions about him. Just have a discussion about him, which was actually a really good thing because with the questions, some of the questions were actually stuff I didn't know at the time.
Like what?
Yeah, what would that be?
Well, yes, well, it was like, well, his name before Martin, I didn't know it was Michael before became Martin.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay,
yeah.
and a lot
That's
of
a good
people
thing.
don't know that, so that's a good thing for us to share on the radio show today. Is that Martin was not his first name. When he
No.
was born, he was named Michael, and his father
Mhm.
changed his name to Martin. So, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know that. So, I'm glad you guys were able to have that discussion at your Cody Rouge community meeting and learn something new like that. That's always a good thing for you to know. Anything else?
For me, no. Most of the things that they had gone over, I had previously learned in other organizations outside of school.
Oh,
Yeah, I will agree with what Grant said that. Yeah, I got that was one I didn't know, but besides that, though, everything else I already did know.
oh, like what? What else did they talk about that you already knew?
Like he was
Um,
a pastor, he had his own church and things like that. That most of the things that were already borderline were already talked about when we've done school projects on him and like that. So it was already things that had been already talked about multiple times in the past in my life.
mhm.
Yeah. So now do you think that looking at him, by the time he was out of high school, he was already doing great things? Did they tell you about, like how young he was when he first got started? And do you feel like that's something that you could achieve as well?
Oh yeah, they talked about how young he was when he went to college and when he graduated high school, and how he started at a very, very young age compared to nowadays. And I think I can have access to that because my high school at Cass Tech does give a platform to do things like that, where I can get a job during school and work just by doing other things during the summer, so I can make sure I can not just have to be doing school all year round. I can also do school and have some other outside activities to help further myself and my education.
So are they teaching you that there is and wherever, just not just in school but in your other organizations that you are a member of, do they teach you that it's important for you to give back to your community? Do you feel the importance there?
Yes, I do. I feel like they're trying to make it where, as if you become successful, you should also remember those that helped you become successful. So your community where you grew up, you should make sure that things that you were used to when you were coming up, if they weren't positive things, you should try to make them positive things, and you should just try to make your place that you came from a better place.
Yeah, I agree with Grandma when he said that because a lot of people don't really take the time to make it whether they came from a better place. Usually, just kind of forget about it, and I feel like it's really good to go back to where you started from.
Right. So now, are there any youth councils that you are a part of, or do you know about any youth councils?
Yeah, like we both said, we're both on the Cody Rouge Youth Council, and we do work with them at least once a month just to try to better our community.
So, what sort of things, there may be other parents out here that want to get their children involved, their students involved in some positive community involvement. So, what kind of things do you do at the Cody Rouge?
So for Cody Rouge, well, since me and Cranston have joined, it's mostly been virtual. Some of the things have because of COVID. We only were able to join when we turned 14. So Cranston is 14 right now, and I'm 15. So it's been it's been not as it's changed since it started. Since we were had to do things virtually, so we
Uh-huh.
have done like things offline, like drives online and like that. We've had to raise money, but it hasn't been how it normally has been.
Okay. Now I want to ask you guys a question. Back in, it seems like it's been a century ago, but back in 2020, we saw George Floyd and that whole episode, and he was murdered by the police officer. What did you feel about that incident, or was it just not important to you?
Um, so when I first saw the incident, it was more like it was very shocking to me. Like it was more like a thing where it's like you really couldn't think that it would happen, but then it actually did happen. So it kind of like takes a little toll on you. You more like think about it, trying to changes your mindset about things. Like kind of like an eye opening experience, and it makes you realize that maybe like you didn't think it was that bad before, or like maybe like hey, maybe it won't happen to you. It probably won't happen ever. But when you actually see it happen and how common it can be, it really takes a toll on you.
Wow.
Right. And how do you feel about the fact, I don't know how closely you watched the trial, but they tried to blame him, and bringing up, his past indiscretions and mistakes and stuff. Do you think that was right for them to put all of that out there?
I feel like they did that just to take it off of the police officer to try to justify it, but technically what it was that you can't really justify it.
Yeah.
What happened isn't able to be justified, but they kept trying to make it sound right.
Now, was that the first time you saw anything like that, or you realized anything like that? Did you think it was a big deal?
I don't like. I feel as if like you see it all the time, but I feel like it's like the first time where like it's or everyone has finally seen it. Like you hear about it, but then it's like the first time where you can actually see it happening. You see it full through. you kind of like really realize that, you know, it's not as simple as it looks. It's not like it just happens just casually. You actually see how bad it really is.
Mm-hmm. Do your classmates, the guys you hang around with, feel that same way? Did you guys talk about it at all?
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit. You know, we didn't. It wasn't something we didn't. It wasn't something that we ignored. But yeah, like we usually we talk a little bit about it. Also, I start by alone with myself. I just thought about myself alone. You know, just thinking about it.
Okay. What did you think about, like, when everybody went to the streets, and people were marching? Did you understand what was going on? Did you participate? Did you want to participate? Did you not understand? Or
I understood it. I want to participate, but like I understood it. I understood why it had to be done. You know, I understood like the reasoning, the end, like, and what kind of message they were trying to send, what kind of impact they were trying to make.
Okay. You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, because it's they were marching for different reasons. But when Martin Luther King had the marches back in the 60s, and people were hesitant about getting involved in those marches. As a matter of fact, my parents, who both came from the South, did not want me to go to the Martin Luther King March when it was here in Detroit. I kind of snuck away and did it, but they did not want me to go. And I think part of it, their reasoning is that they were afraid. Because they both lived in the South, grew up in the South, and they were quite afraid. As a matter of fact, one of my mother's brothers was killed by folks in the South. And so they were very much afraid of what might happen. And so they did not want me to go to the Martin Luther King March when he marched here in Detroit in 1963. So interesting how different ages and different people come based on where they were raised, think about going to those kinds of events and what dangers might be a part of those kinds of events. I think things have changed a little bit in terms of the reasoning for it, but the real reason is still there. It's just people don't respect others and don't think they should be treated as equals. And so that is still a battle that we continue to fight. That will not go away. Let me talk about something a little bit different now. And this is something, as I was reading over the last few days, I came across something. Sidney Poitier just passed away last week. And he was an award-winning actor and also an activist who helped fund some of the civil rights marches. He and Harry Belafonte and Jackie Robinson, all of those people helped fund some of the civil rights marches. But one of the things that I found out they raised money for something called the African Airlift program. And it was a program that helped bring young people from Kenya to America to go to college. And there were 81 of them in the first group they brought over. And one of the people in that first group happened to have been Barack Obama's father. And he was brought over, and he went to Hawaii, studied economics at a university in Hawaii. And lo and behold, if his son didn't turn out to be the president of the United States. But it's just interesting how things happen, that Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, and Jackie Robinson were the three Black men who were very prominent, who spent the money to bring over those students from Kenya so that they could go to school in America. And one of them had a son who turned out to be the president of the United States. I just like that story. I just think that's really quite incredible how history does things and how things happen that you would never consider, but things just kind of happen that way. So I always like to tell that story because I think it is the essence of treat people the way you want to be treated, treat people right, and things will turn out for the better in most cases. In most cases. Cranston and Grant, tell me, what curriculum are you guys in at Cass Tech? Cranston, what curriculum are you in?
Oh, I'm in the computer science curriculum.
Oh, okay. And I should tell everybody these two and my granddaughter Morgan are my technical assistants. I'm sure they get tired of me, but when I need something done, that's who I go to to show me how to do stuff on my phone, on the computer, and all that other kind of good stuff. So they're my technical assistants. Grant, what curriculum are you in?
I'm in a business curriculum at CASTech.
Okay, and what are you going to do with business?
Right now, I plan on going into working with people in business. So I'm not sure what I'm going to 100% do yet, but I want to work with people in business.
Okay. Okay, and Grant Cranston is going to put together the programs in computer science, and you guys can go into business together. We'll handle the business piece. Cranston will do all the what are those things you put together, coding or whatever that is, and then make all those things, and you can rule the world.
That's right.
That'll be a wonderful thing.
Now, do they in school? Do they teach you about the importance of entrepreneurship, especially in the Black community?
In my business class, yes, we do talk about the importance of entrepreneurship, especially in the Black community.
What kind of things do they say?
Oh, we've done research on people in the Black community that have been entrepreneurs and what they've done, and we've just looked at what they did to become successful.
Okay. What kind of things do they tell you need to do to be successful?
Some things that they have said are just make sure that what you do, make sure you feel passionate about it, and you make sure that you know who your customers will be, and make sure that you can actually have a customer base who won't be starting something that nobody really needs or will actually buy from you, so you can actually make some money doing your craft.
Excellent.
Oh, very good. Very good. And both of you guys are Boy Scouts. I do want to talk about that. Um, in terms of your Boy Scout experience, do you talk about the African American experience, and do you talk about leadership in your Boy Scout troop meetings?
Yeah, in Boy Scouts, we do talk about leadership and African American experience. Yeah.
And what are some of the things you guys have done in the community in your Boy Scout troop?
We've done many drives. We've cleaned up places. We just took care of the community the best way we can.
And you've had food drives. You're at the Rosedale Center over there. What you do some things over there at the Rosedale Center and volunteer work, don't you? The Rosedale Community Center.
Yes, we do. We have done several things there. That's where we have our meetings at. So we're there multiple times a month, helping out and meeting just to make sure we're prepared for things in the future.
What kind of things have you done over there?
They have an annual steak roast that they do for the people in the community, and they also have monthly things like they have the Easter egg event for the kids, and where we come and help pass out candy and things like that. And have an Easter egg hunt with the little kids in the community.
Right, and we got a comment saying that Martin Luther King Jr. was a Boy Scout too.
Oh, all right.
So do you think you can use any of those skills that you learned in scouting to come back and assist you even after you've graduated and out into the real world per se? Do you think those scouting, the skills that you've learned there will help?
Yeah, I believe so.
What kind of skills that you think would be most important for you to use directly out of high school, maybe on your way to college or going to college? What do you think you can use?
Social skills, being able to get close with other people. It will be a very good skill for college. Just in the real world, really, being able to socialize is a very good skill.
So how important do you think character is?
Would you say I didn't hear the question?
How important do you think having good character is? And good characters meaning you're able to do the right thing when nobody else is looking.
I think having good character is very, very important because it helps determine the person that you are and what others may think of you. Because even if others aren't watching, you helping them out and them not even knowing it might make a difference. And you might stand out to a person that might make a very big difference in your life.
Okay. You guys went to a couple of HBCUs. Grant, you went to Atlanta to tour some HBCUs this summer. How did that go?
It was a very excellent experience. I was able to go to Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, and we drove by other HBCUs, and I was able to look at their campuses and just at taking the beauty and help expand my list of possible colleges to go to in the future.
Mm. In Cranston, you were at homecoming for one of the HBCUs. Which one did you go to?
I went to FAMU's home for the AM's homecoming. It was an amazing experience. Getting to see people, getting to see the area of Tallahassee. It was amazing. It was a really good experience.
Okay. So you guys enjoyed walking around the campus and going to the football game and watching the band and all that kind of good and eating all the food. So that was a good experience for you guys. I take it, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So, what do you think? Now, since this is Martin Luther King Day, and we can continue to talk about him, and he went on to earn his doctorate degree. How important do you think a role education plays in your development? Do you think it's still important that you go on to college and receive an education, or do you think some people it's just okay not to?
I feel like with college, I feel like college is meant to give people a more like. I feel like each step in education is meant to give people a better opportunity. Like having a middle school education gives you some opportunities. Having a high school education gives you more opportunities. Like the higher you go, the more opportunities you are for different things.
Yeah, the more choices that you get,
Yeah.
it gives you choices, and people won't have to tell you what to do. You can pick. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll do. You have choices, so it gives you
Yes.
choices. What do you feel about this?
But I feel that college is very building. It helps build you up as a person. It helps, like you said, you get to make these choices for yourself about your parents being there in the ear, somebody being in your ear saying you should do this and you shouldn't. It was make the person that you are, and it gives you chances that you haven't been before. You get to learn about different people from all across the world and possibly the country.
Grant, you've done some traveling across the world, actually. When you were in South Africa, did any of the people that you met in South Africa talk to you about Martin Luther King or any of the other Black figures from this country?
Yeah, the people that I talked to in South Africa, they did bring up Martin Luther King, like how we bring up Gandhi and talk about him. Martin Luther King is kind of like the Africa of Gandhi because people look at him differently. How we think about Martin Luther King, people also admire him, and how we look at Gandhi, people also admire him.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what other, you went someplace else, whatever other country, Spain. Was there something similar to that when you were in Spain?
No, Spain didn't really have the same feel that South Africa did when it came to Black leaders and civil rights leaders. No.
Now, just asking you, I see you're well traveled, and which is good. And when I was growing up, most of the times people just went in their neighborhood, and that's kind of as far as you went. What do you've got a chance to see other cultures around across the globe. What do you think the importance of being a global citizen as opposed to just being a citizen of Detroit? What do you think about that? Just being a global citizen, a citizen of the world.
I think being a global citizen is very eye opening because it shows you different cultures and what people would go through in a day to day life. Because what I see here in Detroit may look seem bad to somebody that's from Southfield in Michigan, and then you go to Africa, or you go to South Africa, Johannesburg, and it's a completely different thing. So one bad here may be completely different to somebody just from South Africa or Spain.
So do you think you going into business and let's say if you were the CEO of a corporation, do you think being a global citizen would help you make decisions as opposed to you just being a Detroit citizen?
Yeah, I think it would because I also know that what I make sure that what my company is doing can help all people and not just certain people in a certain environment. That it just won't be benefiting one group and also may hindering another group. I would want it to help bring up everyone as a whole and not just hinder those that are already successful.
Okay. And now you mentioned the environment. How important do you think, especially on Martin Luther King Day, and we're concerned about each other's social aspect, but what do you think about the environment? Should we be concerned about the environment and global warming?
Oh yeah, I do, because being from Detroit, most of my life it's been in January. It's been pretty cold, and this year in January it's been very little. We've only had one major snow event, and that's a first for me. So I think that with global warming being coming such an issue, I think yeah, with this being a very warm winter, I think yeah, it's becoming a very big issue.
Mm-hmm. Cranston, what do you think you guys can, as young people, can do to impact global warming and the environment?
I feel like we can take a little more care of the earth. Make sure we just, since we have all this knowledge, more knowledge about global warming compared to past generations, that we should be focused more on trying to like protect the earth. For at least for how we can do it with how we can do it now, especially since we're young. So at least we can do the best we can at our age.
So, is there anything that you've been trained to do or anything that you sought to do on your own as far as to help to protect the environment? Do you recycle
Yeah,
or
yeah,
You do.
recycle. Yeah.
What do you recycle? How does that work?
Going we get if you have bottles, you can get change, you can get change out of that, or you have our own recycling bin, take it out each week, like I think every other week. Just make sure we keep control over what we have.
Okay. You do better than I do, I think. I think you guys do a lot better than I do with the recycling piece, because I know when I come over to both of your homes, you've got a whole one box that's where all the paper goes and the cans and the bottles and stuff. And I'm not as good at as conscientious about that as you are. So I'm learning from you. But it's
now
it's
we're
it's
we're looking at things are changing and a lot of things are changing just for you guys. And your generation, such as electric cars and the bike lanes in the street. They didn't make the bike lanes in the street for me.
good.
They put the bike lanes in the street for you guys, and the scooters and the bikes. Is this something that you think? Do you think these are good ideas, or are you just kind of scratching your head?
Personally, I'm scratching my head about the bike lanes because I being from Detroit, people normally don't ride in the bike lanes. They normally ride in the sidewalk or in the street. So the bike lanes are more just like a piece where if you want to ride in the bike lane with your family or something, you can, but most people just don't do it.
It's just inconvenient too.
I
They're
feel like
taking.
it's not. I feel like it's not taken as seriously. I feel like people see it, and I think some people will do it. But I feel like they focusly like making sure you stop at the red light. I think they primarily focus on it. They usually see it as more as a choice, not really as like as something that you should be doing, more something that you could do.
So, going back to us being global citizens and we're watching the environment, do you think, I mean, are you guys into electric cars or are you into bikes, or do you want to just kind of keep things as they are? And are you even thinking about driving, or are you good with the Ubers?
Well, yeah, personally, I'm working towards getting my driver's license so that when the time it has come, I can be driving myself. But electric car right now, as the technology gets better, I might be into it. But right now, as it is, I don't think I'll be getting an electric car anytime soon.
Okay, you don't want a Tesla.
I feel,
No.
I feel like electric cars are a good thing, but I feel like at the point they are right now, I don't feel like they're finished yet. I don't feel like it's come as to a point where we can see them commonly. I feel like when you see electric cars, it isn't a common thing to see, more like something that you just happen to see. But I feel like it's like electric cars become a more stable thing, something that we see commonly, something that we are well endowed in, something that we can really understand. I don't think we're going to be seen as commonly or be used as primarily as compared to cars running on gas.
So it'll
So
be a
now, would
while.
you? Yeah, it'll be a while. So will you, when you become of age, So let's see. I, are you working on getting your driver's license, or you're
Well, I'm
okay
not
with the
allowed
way it
to
is?
yet. I'm 14 still, so when I turn 15, that's when I can probably start, which is in a few months.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not gonna be able to work for it until right now. But when I turn 15, I'm most likely going to be trying to learn to drive.
And Grant, you took driver's training last year, right?
Yeah, about August or July of last year, I took it.
And it was a private company that did it, which is so interesting. See, when we took driver's training, it was a part of the school curriculum, and we took it on school property and learned to drive and on school property, and it was a part of you. It was a class, driver's ed.
Um,
And so now with you guys, the system, and now I'm not talking about the school system, but the general world system has turned it into a business. And so
um,
now you have how much you have to pay a whole lot of money for that training, which I think is horrible. And I think that may be why we don't have as good a drivers as we used to have, because I'm not sure that some of these young people who are driving have been to the right drivers training school, because they're doing a lot of crazy things on the streets.
Yeah.
I feel like partly for why this is happening because places we have all these new options for travel. It's like driving isn't now. It like people are now being paid to drive people around. Like with Uber or Lyft, like you're now being able to be paid to drive people around.
That's right.
So I feel like that's like the main reason why it's changed so much, because now driving isn't technically knowing how to drive isn't as needed as it used to be.
Okay.
Because now there's a lot more options you have for transportation.
Good point.
Yeah,
You're right.
you have options, and I think one option that you have that we didn't have was the mom coach.
Yeah.
Taking us here, there, and everywhere. And I think by us being forced on the buses, that was our freedom, our road to freedom.
That's right. Because we rode the buses. You guys get
Yeah, we
driven
did.
everywhere, which is a really really big difference. Have either of you ever ridden a bus?
Yeah, I've ridden the bus. It's just been a long time ago.
Yeah,
Listen to that.
I've ridden the bus. I've ridden the bus.
When did you ride the bus? When did you ride the bus, guys? And where were you going when you rode it?
Right.
So last time I rode the bus was when I was in a program called Cranbrook, Upper Bound.
Oh, but so
Yeah.
you rode a school bus
The
that went
public
in place.
bus. We're
I'm talking
talking
about
about
the
the
public
public.
buses. Have you?
I don't remember the last time I rode a public bus.
Isn't that interesting? And that was our only mode of transportation.
Yeah.
We went on a date on the bus. So interesting times. And you're right when you say people don't drive as much because they got people driving them places all the time.
Right. So when we come at you like telling you we used to ride the bus and we walked to school, and what are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like, well, it's too bad for them? What are your thoughts about some of the stories that we tell you?
Like they're more like lessons saying like this, like all the gifts we have now, all the privileges we have now. Knowing that like back then, they didn't have these type of privileges, that was much harder back then.
Yeah.
So what we have now.
So you're very blessed then. Thank you for recognizing that.
All right.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of privileges but we didn't even know we didn't have the privilege. We thought of that was the way things were supposed to go. That you get on the bus, that's what you do. You go shopping on the bus. You go to the movies on the bus.
Now, is there a company or something that you are working towards in school? I can remember being in school and I said, you know what, I want to work at the phone company. So is there anything like that comes across?
I don't know yet because I haven't started yet, so I don't know. But if Grant can answer, that'd be great.
No, not really. I haven't really put my mind on a certain actual business that I want to work for. It's been more just in a certain field. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've always envied the people who have said, oh, I always wanted to be a fireman, or I always wanted to be, and I'm like, well, I didn't know. So I didn't know. So, at least you're pointed in the right direction. So yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to talk to any of your young friends about today, what do you think is the most important thing that they should know about what Martin Luther King Day is all about?
I feel like they should understand that even though he's passed away, even though that he's not here anymore, that they can still have an impact, like just like he had.
Yeah, for me, I think that Martin Luther King. What I tell my friends is that Martin Luther King Day has. You should shine light on what he has done for you. Because most of my friends are African American, and what he's made, some things that are normal for me, I think it's just make it. I think you should just be glad that you should think about what he's done to make it where your everyday life is your everyday life.
Okay. And let me give you, as we come to a close, I want to thank both of you young men for sharing your thoughts on not just Martin Luther King, but all sorts of other subjects with us. We appreciate that. We were just asking questions, and you answered it and didn't even know what we were going to be asking. So I appreciate it. You did a great job. Thank you. And we'll end with this quote from Martin Luther King, and it says, "Not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love to be great." So for you two guys, all you need to do is be yourselves, love one another, treat people the way you want to be treated. Greatness is in front of you. You're both going to be great. Thank you so much. Sandy Rose, thank you.
Thank
you
yeah.
for
Fine young
joining
man.
us.
Fine young man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Cranston. Yes, thank you, Cranston. Thank you, Grant. You
Thank you.
guys were wonderful today, and hopefully we can have you back next year, and we can extend this conversation on to where you have done exceedingly more things in school as far as the Black experience.
Absolutely. And there may be other subjects that will come up that we may have you to come back and talk to us about what you think you and your peers think about certain things as they come
That's
up.
right.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Community Bell Show. You guys want to have any closing comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, everyone. We'll see you next Monday, 4:00, the Community Bell Show here on WVTC Radio Detroit. Thank you, Miss Sandy Rose. We appreciate you. Take care.
All right. Thanks. You too. Night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're